Well, I think, Michael, that pretty much said it. I think the three or four really big global trends. The first one, I think, the most exciting one, according to me, is the shift of the economic center of gravity towards the emerging markets. And, we've been talking about this for a while. It's taken a little while coming, but this is irreversible. So if you look at just the sheer audacity of numbers, and as marketeers, I know all of us love talking about follow the people, follow the money. 85% of the world lives here in the developing markets. The entire population growth is going to be here, and 90% of the economic growth is forecast now to come really from the developing and emerging markets. And this really makes it exciting. And from a consumer goods business, the fact is that by 2020, you'll have as many people living in the developing world as you have the population of the world. So I like to make it very simple. We are the world. And if you look at it from that point of view, 2 billion people are going to move up and be better off than they are today. But 2 billion people will still be at the bottom of the pyramid, and we can talk a little bit about that. But I find this really exciting, and Asia is going to be at the center of it. Asia is going to be the largest consumer bloc, significantly ahead of North America, and just behind North America and Europe put together in 10 to 15 years' time. So that's the exciting bit. The second bit is, you saw on the video, is sustainable living and sustainability. Because the way growth is happening, we need 3 planets. And I think all of us know we don't have 3 planets. So how do companies kind of change business models? How do brands play a role in this? And I think that's the second trend. And the third big trend is digitization. And I think everyone talks about it. We've got 2 billion people who are connected. It's going to change the way we manage brands and we manage businesses. I think those are the 3 big trends. I think, if you have to kind of bottle it, some of the learnings that we've had as a company is not very different from, I'm sure, a lot of people in this audience have had running their businesses here. We've been in India now for 100 years. Right. And that's not a rounded number, by the way. It has been 100 years. We started with brands at the end of it. We started with Sunlight, and we started with Lifebuoy. I think the few lessons about operating in developing markets and operating specifically in India, the first one is what I call straddling the pyramid. There is not one India. There are many, many Indias. And how do you ensure that you are able to cover different consumer segments and different price points to make sure that you're able to meet the needs of a large number of very heterogeneous consumers? I think that's number one. The second bit that I think is important is in markets like India, you are not competing for market share all the time. You're competing for what I call non-consumption. The biggest opportunity is market development, competing for non-consumption. And I think that's the second big mindset that you have to change when you operate here. And the third bit is affordability and accessibility. I mean, everyone talks about it, but I can tell you half our business in many, many categories comes really from products that sell at under 10 cents. Okay, and in some cases at 2 and 5 cents. So the question really is, how do you create that affordability that will drive consumers into your portfolio, into your categories, but at the same time make money doing it? And I think that is where this whole idea of developing business models that are equivalent of reverse engineering. You start with what the consumer wants to pay, and then say, okay, if that's what she wants to pay, let me give it to her at that price, and then find a way of making money on it. I'll give you a classic example. This is a big country, and the ability to reach consumers where they are is mission critical. So I think those are some of the lessons. And the last bit, which I'm sure everyone here will agree, is the importance of having the right talent, people who understand consumers. And that's really important too.
Well, this isn't a leading question, but maybe it is. So how do you mentioned all the different consumers, all the different markets, and all the different media that are out there and so on. So how do you market to the consumer in that kind of environment?
Not easy, but maybe I'll ask you that question. Right. But I think the first thing is you've got to remember that when you talk about straddling the pyramid, even in media terms, in terms of reach, you have to find different ways of reaching different consumers. We have a situation where we've got 80 million people on the internet, but we've got 300 million people that live in media dark, pockets of India. And you have to find ways of addressing each of these kind of people. I think the most important thing is that you have to recognize that that India is leapfrogging here. There are 700-800 million mobile phones, for example.
Right.
The question is, everyone talks about it, but are we really beginning to understand the power of using mobile phones in terms of marketing our brands to urban and rural? Okay.
More people are accessing the internet via their mobile phone than the computers, the PCs, if you will. So we haven't done a good enough job yet in terms of leveraging that opportunity. But I do believe that this accountability and reaching the consumer when and how they want to is part of that integrated offering that we have to use to get to those various consumers. So it's really an exciting time to be in our business
Yeah.
and to really gain market share.